The sound from that brass bell signifies the daily closing of New York's stock market. The stock market is one of many things impacted by Trump's tariffs taking effect today. The Dow fell by over 670 points, or about 1.55%. Currencies were also hit with the value of the U.S. dollar and the Mexican peso sliding. President Trump also imposed an additional 10% tariff on China, raising the total to 20%. The Trump administration said the tariffs are intended to halt the flow of fentanyl into the United States. The Trump administration has also announced a pause on military aid to Ukraine following the tense meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The White House says the pause will last until the president determines Ukraine is willing to commit to peace negotiations with Russia. In a post on social media, President Zelensky called last week's meeting, quote, regrettable, adding he's ready to work with President Trump to ensure peace.
Taiwan Semiconductor Company has announced a $100 billion expansion into its investment into U.S. chip making here in Arizona. The announcement came from TSMC CEO C.C. Wei during a press conference with President Trump at the White House on Monday. Wei thanked the president for his continued support of TSMC's expansion outside of Taiwan.
For this, all the investment, $165 billion, is going to create thousands of high-paid jobs, as the president just announced. And we are, most important, actually, we are going to produce many AI chips. We are going to produce many chips to support the AI.
The company makes up roughly 90% of the world's chip manufacturing and produces chips for companies like Apple and NVIDIA. And Arizona is home to the only TSMC manufacturing hubs outside of Taiwan. Welcome back. Arizona national parks and forests attract millions of visitors every year. Those visitors boost local businesses and fuel the state's economy. But with layoffs at the U.S. Forest Service and Parks Department, the visitor experience could soon change. Emily Fox-Millian is hitting the trails in Phoenix to explain how these cuts could impact the state's tourism industry.
South Mountain, which is a city park here in Arizona, we've seen dozens of people walking by, riding by on their mountain bikes and hiking with their families and dogs. And it makes sense with beautiful views like this and this gorgeous weather that they'd be out here. But it's important to note that trails like this don't exist and they're not maintained without human beings.
Enough to make their park experience all they've hoped for.
According to the Park Service, restaurants and hotels that are around national parks are the big winners in local economies. Now, obviously, we're not at a national park, but after this, I'm going to go throw on my hiking shoes, and I'm probably going to grab a bite to eat after. In Phoenix, Emily Fox-Millian, Cronkite News.
The White Sox, Brewers, or Rangers. Time now to head out to the ballpark as we take a look at one of the most popular venues, Sloan Park, home of the Chicago Cubs, who have claimed the highest attendance in the Cactus League for the past 10 years, which is where we'll find our Ben Pears. Ben, it looks like a beautiful day for a ball game out today, and I'm sure the fans are enjoying the atmosphere out there as well.
That's exactly right, Genaro. It's another beautiful day here at Sloan Park, the spring training home of the Chicago Cubs, where fans have historically had a great experience. It's the park that brings out more fans than any other park in all of the Cactus Leagues. Now, many season ticket holders like to...
Tonight on Cronkite News, new questions after a plane crash at a local airport. We'll take a closer look at the traffic control system.
Plus, how a reversal of a 2011 ICE policy could affect undocumented elementary school students in the Valley.
And former Sun Devil basketball coach Karen Self makes history. We'll tell you about her latest milestone tonight on Cronkite News. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Max Williams.
And I'm Caitlin Humphrey. Thank you for joining us.
Following a crash yesterday at Scottsdale Airport, officials said that a plane veered off the runway into another plane, injuring several people and killing one. Cronkite News reporter Ariel Nelson spoke with flight instructors about what is happening on the runways.
This recent incident follows a number of other high-profile plane crashes, leading many travelers to fear our skies are unsafe. But statistics show that flying is still the safest way to travel. In the United States, far safer than traveling by car, train, or boat. One other statistic to think about, according to the FAA, commercial pilots need 1,500 hours of flight time before they can become licensed. Private pilots need at least 40 hours. In the newsroom, Ariel Nelson, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Ariel. Meanwhile, Arizona's Attorney General compared the Trump administration to a dictatorship. In a video released of her office, Chris Mays slammed President Donald Trump's actions since taking office last month.
The actions of the Trump administration in the last 3 weeks can only be described as dictatorial and authoritarian. Every day, nearly every hour, there is some new action or executive order that makes a mockery of the rule of law and the Constitution itself. There is an undemocratic administration in power, and they appear hell-bent on undoing 250 years of adherence to the rule of law in this nation.
Attorney General Mays also criticized the appointment of Elon Musk, who is heading the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, and said her office will continue to challenge the administration's actions in court.
Meanwhile, President Trump welcomed the King of Jordan to the White House today, but the president did not walk back earlier comments he made about relocating people from the Gaza Strip. The president met with Jordan's King Abdullah II today in the Oval Office, and Trump once again said that Palestinians should be moved from the Gaza Strip to other countries, including Jordan. The president also suggested that he could keep aid from Jordan if they did not accept Palestinians.
There's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings and housing and other things.
King Abdullah did not reject the president's proposal during today's press conference, but he did indicate that alternate proposals for the people of Gaza may be coming.
Also today, an ally of President Trump has pleaded guilty to defrauding donors who thought they were helping to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Steve Bannon pleaded guilty to one count of scheme to defraud. Prosecutors say Bannon and several others raised millions of dollars to build the wall, but they say Bannon used the money elsewhere. Bannon will not be required to serve any time in prison and will not pay restitution.
Coming up next, the Federal Trade Commission says that identity theft is on the rise.
But some Phoenix residents are shredding their chances of becoming a victim. Stay tuned after the break to learn how some Phoenix residents are planning to keep their sensitive information out of the wrong hands.
Plus, we have a cooler weekend up ahead in the valley with a possible storm on Friday. Stay tuned after the break to learn more.
If you spent any time in the valley, you've probably noticed the Waymos driving themselves around the streets of Phoenix and Tempe. Pretty soon, they may have some competition on the roads. The rideshare company Lyft announced it will start using autonomous vehicles by 2026. Lyft joined forces with a Japanese company who will own the fleet of cars that feature their mobile iDrive technology. In a social media post, CEO David Risher said they could debut in Dallas, Texas by 2026. Officials at Lyft say once these vehicles are on the road, customers will have the choice of getting an automated driver or a real human to take them from point A to point